All right, let's start our class. This is Math Camp 101 3/4. And before we start, we're going to give some introduction. You might be wondering why the name of the course is Math 101 3/4. I'll explain it as we go, so please for now bear it with me. So before we talk about the introduction of the course, let me give you some very brief logistics of our course or session. So this is Math Camp, as you all know it, and some important thing to know about is that the course will be done in English. There are two reasons for this. First reason, which is more practical reason, is because a lot of the students, graduate students in School of Economics, Yonsei University, there are a lot of students that are from foreign countries or foreigners where Korean is not really used to them. So in order to accommodate the people's needs, I'll be speaking English throughout this course. And the second reason is because unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for some people, for non-American people and students, English is currently the lingua franca of our generation, which means that most of the talks and terms in academia, which also applies to economics, is spoken in English and written in English. So a lot of the terms and things you'll learn throughout this course, and also when you get to learn graduate studies, when you go on to graduate studies, you'll realize that a lot of the courses are going to be in English. Considering the fact of that situation, I'll be just doing this session in English to make it more convenient. And although I think most of you already knows this, but for those of you who does not know it, the course will last for 5 days, starting from August 7th to August 11th. And for each day, we'll have classes, which will last for 4 hours. So 10 to 12, and then we're going to have some short break for lunch for an hour. And then it will restart at 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., which is also 13 to 15, which is written in the slides. So just be aware of the time. So we'll be doing the courses for 5 days and 4 hours for each. So there'll be 20 hours, which is in some perspectives long, some perspectives small and short. So just know this as we go along. And I have a very important reminder for students who are watching the videos. So what I'm going to do is that during the class, during the recorded lectures, I'll be giving you some attendance codes during my lecture. So students that are watching the recorded lecture must send me these attendance codes by email. Otherwise, your access to the videos will end immediately. And just to clarify, this is just for students taking offline. This is just for students taking online classes, which means that students who are right now taking the offline classes do not need to do this. It's just for students who said they're going to watch video instead of coming to the school. And I do this in a way for incentive for students who are not coming, because there's a possibility that students who are not coming have hard time getting on with the lectures because it's easier to get distracted and lose focus. So in a way of participation constraint, I'll be using this as a way of making sure that all of the students are taking the lectures. And the due date for sending this email for attendance codes is the next day. So for example, today's class is August 7th class. So I'm going to give out also attendance codes, and after that, you must send me these attendance codes by August 8th. So by August 8th, so the next day of the lecture, you have to send me these attendance codes. Otherwise, your access to the lectures will end immediately. And just note that the number of attendance codes for the videos will not be given in advance. So you must watch them to find out how these random numbers of attendance codes turn out to be. So it was a very important reminder for students watching the videos, especially if you're going to watch videos for this lecture, you have to send me the attendance codes. Just remember that. For students just taking this course offline, you don't have to worry about this. Just coming here is, in a way, is a participation constraint. So, okay, so we'll go on with the overall course. And before we go on to overall knowledge about this course, let me talk briefly about why we have to learn math in economics. Okay, so why math in economics? At least in academia sense of economics. Well, many, or some fortunately, students will say what I wrote in the slide. I studied economics because it did not use math that much, at least in undergraduate level maybe. However, this kind of idea is a big no-no if you come to graduate level economics because, well, almost all of economic theory, at least in graduate level, is based on rigorous math. And also, many economists, including most of the people you will work with, dream of becoming pseudo-ish scientists. What this means is that they use math as a way of language whenever possible. So if you don't understand this math as a way of language, you're not going to survive in this academia. Especially if you're interested in micro or macro theory, knowing basic math is a necessary condition for survival. Knowing math won't make you survive immediately, but if you don't know math, you're not going to survive. It's a necessary condition in order to survive in this field. So, and also, the fact is, we have to learn math because a lot of the economists assume you already know them. And let me give you a very brief example in international trade literature. So you don't have to know what these things mean. Just bear it with me just to show, I'm just trying to show that how math is related to our economics. So in trade literature, we like to assume CS preferences. It's an abbreviation for constant elasticity of substitution. You don't need to know about it, or I mean, if you know about it, it's great, but you don't need to know about this to understand this example. So one of the reasons why we assume CS preference is because of homothetic preferences. And what is homothetic preference? The definition, the rigorous definition of homothetic preference is the preference that admits utility function of homogeneous of degree 1. And if you read this, you'll be going like, what the heck? What does this mean? So the thing is, the great part I wrote in the slide is the econ math stuff. But unfortunately, even though a lot of people will not know, at least people just going into the graduate level study, but many economists will never kindly explain this, but you'll have to know this. Then, since I talk about how micro theory and macro theory is especially the background, I mean, especially math is important for micro and macro theory, some of the students, especially students that are doing empiric works, might think like this, which is also unfortunate. So many, or fortunately only some, empiric-oriented students will go like, I don't need math because I'm going to do only empiric works. Unfortunately, this is a second big no-no because data itself, you'll learn this as you try to understand, as you study more. The data itself won't tell you anything. And I'm not just talking about very like small sample data. I'm talking about even big data or population data, which has data of the whole population that you're interested in. Even if you have those data, if you don't have mathematical and theoretical background, the data itself won't tell you anything about your research question. And for reference, you can check Abadi et al. At 2020. So in order for data to talk, that is, in order for the data to answer your research question, you need a theory to back it up. And in order to understand theory, you need to know basic math around it, which means even if you're interested in empiric works and you are striving to only study and research in these areas, you still need math. So for our motivation summary, I can summarize it in one sentence, which is learn basic math or you will not survive. You will at least not survive in academia of economics in graduate level. Then the question comes up is, okay, I get that math is important, but what kind of math then? Well, in a very rough sense, there are two kinds of math. So the first is what I would call Econ 101, the technical math, which I call it. So these are the math I hope are the ones that are bred in the bone. It's like, it is your reflex to differentiate any sort of function that comes into your eyes. What I mean is that if you have taken a lot of calculus classes in undergraduate, you'll have these sort of urges, like reflexes, that whenever you see functions like this, for instance, x squared, you immediately want to do differentiation, make it into 2x. Like this. And this sort of technical thing is what I'm talking about, the one that is bred in the bone, the basic differentiation, basic integration. So you see x squared, and you just want to suddenly have this urge to differentiate and to make it into 2x. Those are like the technical math that should be bred in the bone. And there are econ 102 stuff, which what I usually call it as proof-based math. So what is proof-based math? So basically these are the scary ones. The ones you call them with names such as analysis, topology, measure theory, homotopy stuff. Like the ones with the very scary names that pops up in your head. And the one that starts usually with a proof and ends with this very weird square, or maybe some QED that might be more familiar to you. And usually the start of this kind of math is undergraduate analysis courses, which maybe some of you have taken it, or maybe some of you haven't, but those are like the classes that we usually start learning about proof-based math. Moving on. Okay, so we learned about two kinds of math. Then what is our objective? Well, it's very simple. And here's where the name of our slide comes in. Our objective of this course is Econ 101 3/4. So what this means is that we're gonna learn some more about Econ 101, and we're gonna get ready for some more Econ 102. So it's kind of like a bridge between two maths, and in a way, it's a quick blood transfusion for dying first-year grad students so that they can survive in this world. And to be more specific, it should be some analysis and some linear algebra and some optimization and some probability. So throughout this course, you'll be learning something between Econ 101 and 102. Although, as I said, it's 3/4. It'll be a little more closer to 102. So now, since you learned about the basic flow of what we're going to learn and some of the objectives of our course, you'll be wondering about the target audience. That is, who really should take this? Because I'm pretty sure this class is not for everyone. And I listed some cases. The first case you can see is there'll be students that goes like, I took most of the math-related undergraduate courses. In other words, I took mathematics for economics, calculus, linear algebra, mathematical economics, undergraduate analysis, and some etc. And I say, well, get out of this class. You already know a lot about math and proof-based math, probably, so try to do something more meaningful than taking this class. And even if you decide to take this course, just take it more of a reference, because you probably already know all of the things I'm going to talk about in the classes mostly, as long as you took very basic classes related, math-related classes undergraduate, especially undergraduate analysis. If you took them, you're probably very used to these proof-based math. And also there will be like second case of students who go like, I took some math and now I'm wondering if arbitrary product of compact sets compact. And to these students, I would say really get out of the class. Like take other classes as you're already high tier math students. You don't need to be here. You're wasting your time, like seriously. Okay, I'm gonna give you the attendance code for today. So it's 1000, so it's 1000. I hope you guys can see this. It's 1000. So this is the attendance code. Don't forget to email this to me by tomorrow. Okay, and there are third kind of students who say, I don't know how to differentiate or integrate x squared, which I just mentioned last time in the slide. Then get out and open up Stewart Calculus book ASAP. This is because you can't survive if you don't know Econ 101 3/4, as I said. But if you don't know Econ 101, you are already dead. So if you don't want to kill yourself, please read Stewart Calculus book ASAP and learn about basic integration and differentiation. So learn about basic Econ 101 stuff before it's too late. Or otherwise, you are already dead. And lastly, there's a fourth case of students who goes like, I learned some math, I took some courses, but but I'm still not used to this proof-based math stuff. These are, I think, the most ideal case for taking this course. So take it and use this as a reference for future study. So usually I'll really recommend that the people who are in the fourth case to take this course. And for other cases, if you're already very well into this math-related subjects, you don't need to take it. And if you are going to take it more like a reference so you can study more about it. And before we go on, I want to give you some recommendation for the classes. This is not related to our math camp, but this is just for recommendation for students who might have not taken these classes. And I strongly suggest that you take these classes, especially the undergraduate classes if you haven't, because these are one of the very basic classes that you should know if you want to survive and study in the academia of economics. So I'll be giving you some recommendations. So if you haven't taken this course in undergraduate, try to take these undergraduate classes while you're doing your graduate studies so that you can get more information about these math. Because we only have 5 days for math camp, I will not be able to give you all the information that you need from these courses. So I'll try my best, but I really urge you that if you haven't taken these classes, you should take them for your future benefit. So, okay. So I'll be talking about the classes you should take if you haven't. The first one is, of course, undergraduate level of calculus. If you haven't taken this course, take this as quick as possible. It'll be talking about the very basic Econ 101 stuff. So if you're not used to this, as I told you, you're not going to survive here. And the second one is also important, which is undergraduate level of linear algebra. If you haven't taken this, please take it as soon as possible. You can take undergraduate courses even if you're a graduate level student. So check that out and try to take these courses. And I would also recommend that you guys take either undergraduate level or graduate level mathematical statistics course. This is because basic statistics course is very needed for you to understand the concepts in econometrics and a lot of the data related works. So you have to really know about probability and statistics, at least in a basic level. So if you want to know about this, you have to take this. So I really urge you to take mathematical statistics. Excuse me. And finally, I recommend you to take the undergraduate level of analysis course, which is usually open in math department. It kind of sounds scary, but you have to know very basic analysis courses if you want to be a graduate student in economics, especially if you are planning on applying for a PhD or PhD in here or PhD in US or Europe. So I really urge you to take analysis courses if you haven't taken it. And anything other than that, I think is purely optional. So any courses other than this math-related course, you could take it if you want to, if you have time. But if you don't have time, I don't think it's very necessary. Finally, some disclaimer about the math. For now, I've talked about how math is very important. You need this to survive. I might have emphasize the importance of math. So I'm going to write this in this slide. I'm going to talk about that math is important, but it's not that important, to make sure that you don't get this overhype about math stuff. So, okay, here we go. So firstly, math is an important fundamental an economist should have. It's true. But this math stuff is not a sufficient knowledge for success. That means even if math is important to know in order to survive, it doesn't mean you're going to succeed immediately after you take the math courses. So don't take it as some sufficient knowledge for success. Just take it as like a necessary things you need to learn about for the possibility to succeed. And the second, especially getting A+ in one math class or B- in one math class will not promise you anything good or bad. So don't be too stressed about getting B- in one course or getting some low grades in just one math course and feel like you're a failure or think like you're not going to work out. It doesn't work that way. And also, don't get too overhyped about getting A+ in some math course and think that you're going to have a very good life. It's not like that, at least in academia of economics. So getting one good grade in one math class or getting one bad grade in some other math class will not going to significantly affect your grade and your life. So to summarize, so knowing math is good for your own sake, but getting A+ will not get you to PhD in MIT. And also, getting B- will not significantly sabotage your life. So math is important in academia of economics, but it's not important in the sense that just getting one just getting one mistake will just gonna make your life miserable. It's not like that. So don't be too stressed out, although it's important. Before we start our course, I'll be giving you very brief contact information. So my name is Hyungcho Kim. If my Korean name is hard, you can just call me Kent. It's also fine. Or you can also call me Kim. But anyway, so this is the name of the instructor, which is me. And I wrote the email, which is my email that I use for this course. So if you have any questions, try to send me some questions through emails. But if you have questions during the courses, feel free to just ask me during the course. You can interrupt me and just raise your hand and just ask me questions. I don't really mind. So if you have questions while I'm doing my courses and lectures, just raise your hand and just ask me questions. So it's fine. And also otherwise, if you have questions about the course later, or maybe if you have questions that is not strictly related to the course, like the things we're learning about, you can also use the email to talk to me about it. I'm very free for any questions, even if it's not math chem related, so it's all right. I could give you also a mobile phone and KakaoTalk information if you want, but I don't want to make it too public. So if you want this information, just ask me personally after class. And this is the reference I mentioned, Abadi et al. So this is the end for the first session of introduction.